Hi, I'm Amy Wilkins, leadership coach, former media exec, and your host of Thriving in the Messy Middle. This is a space for women leaders navigating those in between seasons, the moments when things feel uncertain, stretched, or messy, and you're trying to find your footing without losing yourself. Some episodes are conversations with remarkable women leaders sharing the lessons they've learned along the way. And other times, it's just you and me, slowing things down and naming what's really going on. Think of this as a place to reset, reflect, and reconnect with what matters most. Because thriving isn't about having it all figured out, it's about learning how to grow, lead, and move forward, even when things feel messy. So there's a story that's really stayed with me. It's one shared by Linda Thomas Brooks, and I think it holds a powerful lesson for leaders navigating the messy middle. So after a sporting event, Linda's dad would ask her a simple question: "How did you play?" And Linda would answer the way most of us would, by sharing the outcome. Did she win? Did she lose? And her dad would gently press again: "But how did you play?" What he understood, and what many of us don't learn until much later, is that winning and playing your best are not the same thing. You can win a match and never be challenged. You can succeed and never stretch. You can come out on top without ever needing to bring your A game. And that distinction matters, especially in leadership. Because one of the quiet traps of success is believing that the goal is simply to win, to have the right answers, to be right, to be the smartest person in the room. But research and lived experience tell us something very different. So many of you are probably familiar with Carol Dweck's work on the growth and fixed mindset. But, her growth mindset shows that people who grow and adapt over time don't avoid challenge, they seek it. They see stretch moments not as threats to their competence, but as opportunities to develop it. Leaders with a growth mindset are more open to feedback, more willing to admit what they don't know, and far more likely to keep learning, even when they're already successful. In contrast, when we believe our competence is something we have to protect, we start avoiding situations that might expose gaps. And that's where growth quietly stalls. In leadership, this shows up in subtle ways. We might surround ourselves with people who agree with us, hire in our own image, or reward alignment over curiosity. We mistake confidence for capability. And yet, the strongest leaders I know don't lead that way. They don't need to be the smartest person in the room, because they know that thinking they are actually limits growth. Instead, they intentionally surround themselves with people who challenge them, who see things differently, ask better questions, who push back respectfully, and help them see blind spots before they become liabilities. Here's the key: challenge only works when there's safety. I often reference Amy Edmondson's work on psychological safety, and her work shows that teams perform best not when everyone agrees, but when people feel safe enough to disagree. Psychological safety doesn't mean lowering the standards. It means creating an environment where people can speak up, challenge assumptions, admit uncertainty, and take intelligent risks without fear of embarrassment or punishment. And this is where leadership really gets tested, because it's one thing to say you want challenge. It's another to truly welcome it, especially when the stakes are high and the pressure's on and the answers aren't obvious. In the messy middle of leadership, those seasons when complexity increases faster than clarity, the temptation is to grip tighter and to rely on what's worked before, to default to expertise instead of curiosity. But the research consistently shows that diverse perspectives, when genuinely included, lead to better decisions, stronger problem solving, and more innovative outcomes. Not because diversity makes things easier, but because it makes thinking richer and more rigorous. High-performing organizations understand this. Studies of outperforming companies show that they don't avoid disagreement. They structure it. They build in moments of debate. They pressure test decisions. They expect leaders to defend ideas and remain open to being influenced. In other words, they ask the leadership version of Linda's dad's question. But how did you play? Did you stretch? Did you invite challenge? Did you learn something that changed how you think? Did you grow, even if the outcome looked good on paper? And here's the deeper truth. Leadership development doesn't happen in comfort. It happens at the edge of what we know. It happens when we're willing to be challenged, not just by circumstances, but by people. That's why feedback-rich cultures matter so much. When feedback is framed as learning rather than judgment, it becomes fuel. Leaders who build these cultures aren't focused on protecting their image. They're focused on strengthening their game. So the real leadership question isn't, did I win? It's this. Am I playing at my edge? Am I being stretched? Am I surrounding myself with people who make me better, not just more comfortable? Because growth doesn't come from easy wins. It comes from being willing to be challenged. So here's the reflection I'll leave you with today. Where in your leadership might you be winning, but not playing full out? And who could help you raise your game if you let them? Thank you so much for listening today. I hope something you heard gave you a little clarity, or maybe just a sense that you're not alone in this season. The messy middle isn't something we pass through once. It shows up again and again, and each time we meet it with a bit more awareness, a bit more choice, and a lot more self-trust. If this episode resonated, follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And if someone came to mind while listening, share it with them. That's how this community grows. You'll find links and resources in the show notes and more ways that we can work together at chooseaw.com. And I'll leave you with this reminder. You are the most worthwhile project you will ever work on. So until next time, keep thriving, even in the messy middle.